All right, good morning, everybody. Go ahead and find your seats. I wouldn't qualify JJ as a chatterbox this morning. He is. Yeah. Thanks for coming. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for being here today. I apologize for the venue change, but this is kind of a cool room. We need to switch it up every now and then. Let's kick it off like how we do every week with Tell Me Something Good. Online, chime in if you have anything that you just want to come off on mute and discuss. Tell Me Something Good is new leads, open houses, escrows, buyers, sellers, just anything good in your real estate business. So Valerie, tell me something good.
Got a new listing live this week.
There you go. Congratulations. Where is it located? Elrod Hills. Awesome. All right. Who else has something? Surah.
I'm gonna hold this house for open house, so yeah.
Yeah, you get some held over an open house. Wonderful. We had another agent on our team. She's actually in escrow. No, she's showing somebody around from open houses, right? $1 million buyer in Folsom. So open houses work. Get those open houses. Did you have something, Barry?
I've always got something. It's always good. In
It's
real
always
estate.
good.
So just hit 146 units under management.
Wow.
That's good. And just close my condo flip. So that's good.
There you go. Cigars on Barry.
Got a new listing going live in Rio Linda, 3 bedrooms, 2 bath. If anybody's looking for something on the lower end.
Dude, lots of good stuff.
Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. Is there anybody online that wanted to chime in?
Yeah, there's one. Go ahead. Go ahead and unmute yourself and speak.
Yeah, go ahead and mute. What's the name?
Hey Johnny, how you doing?
Doing well, Michael. How are you?
I'm good. Hey, listen, I'm really excited about joining the Cindy Silva team.
Awesome. Congratulations. We broke up a little bit. It was like joining what? Say join Cindy Silverstone. Wonderful. Cool. All right. Well, let's get into it. So we do have some upcoming events we want to share. So we're just going to share the screen really quick so everybody can see. And next Thursday, we're not going to be upstairs. We're not going to be down here. We're going to be at PCAR. So we're flying in Ricky Caruth. Raise your hand if you've ever heard of Ricky Caruth. Know Ricky Caruth? Right, the dude's a legend in the industry. So we're flying him in. He's going to be speaking at PCAR and teaching us how to get more listings. Right? Who wants more listings? Right? We all want more listings. So he's going to be teaching us how to do that this next Thursday at PCAR. It's free. Make sure you register. The tickets will sell out for that, guys. Like PCAR gets mad because we blow out the parking lot and then they get complaints. So make sure. So seating will be limited. So make sure you get your seats for PCAR. What else we got? Oh yes. So Barry went to build, I went to build, Tom went to build, Kristen went to build. There were a lot of, did you go to build?
Yeah.
I can't, you're everywhere, so I can't remember where you are. But build was a fantastic event. For those of you who you went to build, Nisha went to build. For those of you who were not able to make it to build, all of the resources, all of the recordings, everything are right here. We're going to put it on the Brent Gove page. Reach out to myself or Crystal, anybody, if you don't get a copy of the link. But all the build resources are there.
What's up with that? It cost me $1,500 to go get those resources. You just gonna give it away?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But you got to have fun. Nobody had more fun than you.
Oh, yeah. Never mind.
You
Moving on.
gotta stop there. Yeah, let's talk about that. Let's talk about that, Barry.
Yep, keeps on giving.
Yeah, all right.
We also have some merch.
Oh, yeah, speaking of build, we have tons of merch back here. This is free. So it wasn't free to us, but it's free to use. You grab a build hat, grab a little container, courtesy of Brent Gove. So thank you, Brent Gove, for supplying that. And then what else do we got? All right, speaking of resources, people have been asking us a lot about, hey, how are you selling houses? How are you doing your follow-up? How are you generating leads? How are you doing all this stuff? And so we just want to make sure that if you are on Brent's team, right? If you are a member of his organization, we do offer resources for you. And so all you have to do is go ahead and click. We'll provide this link. Just ask us for the link.
Your
And,
presentation.
yeah, go ahead and put it in. And then just scroll through it a little bit, Crystal. And this kind of just outlines a little bit of what it is we provide and what it is we offer for agents, right? You don't necessarily have to join the team. You don't necessarily have to split with us, but we do coaching calls every morning. We do provide training. We're here to be a resource for you. So we're here to help you sell more homes. And so again, just let us know if you'd like to see some more details about this. We can get it to you. But our goal, Brent's goal, is to make everybody in this room and everybody in this organization successful. And so we have tons of resources available for you if you are willing to go and get it. It's like a key, right? Key's worthless unless you put it in the car and drive the vehicle. Okay. So reach out to us if you'd like more info on that. With that, any questions on any of the things we've covered so far. Oh, going fast, always go fast. All right. All right, well, we do have a lender update. So JJ, what do you got for us?
Yeah, absolutely, guys.
So come on up,
JJ.
JJ.
Thanks, Johnny. Yeah, talking about success, I really wanted to talk, man, we're halfway through the year. Can you believe that? 2023 is halfway over. I think tomorrow is the longest day of the year. And I wanted to talk about well, let me ask you a question first. What is the value proposition of somebody like a Walmart? Can you give me an idea of what value would they bring to one of their clients?
Low prices every day.
Low prices every day. Right, you got it. And then when you compare that to someone like Nordstrom, what are they?
High prices every day.
Luxurious customer service.
Service.
So these people, you know what they do, and they have a value proposition. So my question for you is, what is your value proposition? What are you giving to your clients every single day? What are you bringing to the world? So if you are a real estate agent and somebody else can tell what your value proposition is, you've won. You've done what you've needed to do and got that transaction closed. Because if you can give your value proposition, that's great. But really what it's all about is having somebody else give your value proposition for you. So you need to be able to share what your value proposition is and why it is that you're going to be working with that person. When a client asks, why would I work with you versus anybody else? There's a lot of realtors in here. Why would I work with, Valerie versus all the other realtors? You have to be able to know what your value proposition is, and then get that person to know that value proposition by the end of that transaction. So if you have a value proposition, live it, live that value proposition, and go after that day and make it happen, make it yours. If you don't have one and you don't know what your value proposition is, get one. Think about it. Sit down. What is that you're living for? What is that you're doing this for? Because that's what's going to make you successful, just like it has made both Nordstrom and Walmart billion-dollar companies. So get out there, make it happen. And one more thing I wanted to share with you. I'm going to pick on Valerie a little bit more today because I work with her often. And so I know Valerie very well, and we've been knowing each other for years now. And so I came up with a value proposition for her. I hope that's okay. I'm going to read it. And so this is something that you could tell your clients because of the things that I've noticed about you. So someone asked Valerie, why should I work with you? She could say, I'm committed to your success. I am the realtor who will always be there for you from day one to a year down the road. I'm just as excited to show you homes and never tire in finding your dream home from day one to a year from now. My dedication knows no bounds. I take immense pride in exceeding your expectations and achieving your real estate goals. What did you hear there? You heard available, dedicated. She takes pride in what she does. She's passionate. These are things that you want and that you want your client to know by the time that you're done closing that transaction. So if you don't have a value proposition or you'd like to go over that with me, I'd be happy to sit down with you and come up with ones that you know what you could do next time you meet with your next client.
Awesome. Thank you, JJ.
Thank you.
All right. Any questions for JJ? Yeah, give a round of applause. All right. So our keynote, I guess, yeah, we can call you keynote. Our keynote speaker for today is Sean Davis. He's a legend in the solar industry. He has his own radio show, and he's going to be teaching us about the good, the bad, the ugly of the solar industry. Sean, you want to come on up here and kick it off?
Happy.
All right, guys, give him a round of applause.
Can you just put my name and email and we're in the chat?
Mhm.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Well, I'm here to chat a little bit about solar. I've got some resources back here in the back, but a little bit about my company. I own a company called SolarWise, a small family-owned business in Newcastle. I got my wife, high school sweethearts. So we've been together almost 30 years, and then my 4 boys in the business with me. And as a solar brokerage company, I will share with you that I've gone through about 30 different solar installers to try to find 11 good ones, which is what we've got right now. And as Johnny mentioned, I host a radio show on KFBK called SolarWise. It airs on Saturdays at 4 p.m. And then a half-hour version of it airs on Sundays at 1:30 p.m. So I just want you to know I'm not an 18, 20-year-old door knocker. I'm a professional in this business, host a show. I give out education every single weekend. It's an hour-long show, long form. And what I want to educate you on right now is just what's happening in solar. But I've learned a long time ago, I've done several of these meetings. Let me grab your attention. I'll start with this. I will pay you $1,000 for your referrals if you refer anybody that wants to move forward with solar. I'll start there.
There you go.
In addition to that, for everybody that's attending this meeting, if you personally are interested in solar, I've gotten an agreement with our 11 different installers. If anybody's interested here today, I can extend $2,500 off a solar system if you want to consult or talk with me about your own personal system. So I'll grab your attention with those two things first, all right? So as a solar broker, what does that really mean? That's the biggest question that I get. So what it really means is I've done the dirty lifting, the hard work of trying to find reputable, quality, good solar companies to represent my clients and their interest in saving money with solar. So obviously in this area, Roseville Electric's the cheapest power that you can get. We've done dozens of systems, even in Roseville Electric territory. SMUD is next up. We do work in SMUD territory. They're about twice as expensive as Roseville Electric. And then we get to the big, bad, dirty, ugly, biggest behemoth out there, which is PG&E. And obviously solar really helps to save money in PG&E territory. So what we've done is begun to work with 11 different installers, initially 30, distilled down into 11. And so we meet with a homeowner, discuss property level specific concerns with them. Is there roof challenges? Is there a main panel upgrade that's needed? Is the shading a concern because there's too much tree cover? What are the variables represented by the property? What are the concerns that the homeowner has? The big thing in solar is usage, kilowatt hours. How do we build a system that is going to meet the needs of the client and generate the energy that they need to generate for a full year? And so once we understand exactly what their usage is, we can call with them to PG&E to get their usage. And once we figure out what their usage is, now we know what's the property level concerns, how much power are we trying to replicate, and now we'll go out and shop that amongst our 11 different installers to request bids from them for what it would cost to build that size system for that homeowner. Now, in the world of solar, companies fall into three categories: small, mid, and large in terms of volume. So we learned a long time ago, about 2 years ago, that you do not want to work with the real small guys. So we don't work with companies that do HVAC, siding, windows, and solar. Those companies just don't get the job done as well as a company that does solar only as the sole source of their income. Additionally, smaller companies, what we define as a company that installs under 250 systems a month, that may not seem small to you, but in the solar world it is. So 250 systems a month or fewer, those companies don't usually have the volume, the economies of scale that bigger companies have. They can't buy panels in the same bulk that other companies can't buy inverters in the same bulk. And so because of that, we've realized the small companies are some of the most expensive for solar out there and usually have the most problems in terms of challenges with the install, taking forever, etc. Then you get into the mid-size category, 250 to 700 installs a month, and then large companies are 700 installs or more. So those companies usually are multi-state companies: Sunrun, SunPower, Green Day Power, Freedom Forever, these types of companies. Now, the challenge with big companies we've realized is if they're big enough to have an 800 number, big enough to have 25 warehouses in California, they often are more expensive as well because they have other ancillary business costs that distill down into running their business at that level, at that size. And so our sweet spot has been mid-sized companies, 250 to, I'd say, 500 installs a month. You don't have to call an 800 number. The companies know you personally. It's the fastest install, usually the best pricing, and you're not leaving your clients to Solar Chuck in his truck, who may be unlicensed, or Slick Solar Rick that's trying to high pressure them. As a broker, once we reach out to get those proposals from these different companies, not all solar companies give uniform proposals. They're not talking about the warranties. They're not talking about the panel efficiency. They're not talking about the types of different inverters that they're offering. And so with us, when we consult with a client, we're going to request those proposals. The company sets the pricing. We're paid a fee based on the size of the system. Well, if they're all building a system at 10,000 kilowatt hours, the size of the system is going to be pretty uniform amongst them. We don't have any horse in the game. It doesn't matter whether they choose company A or company D. It doesn't matter to us, but we want to give them options. And then we will guide them through the process of exploring these quotes and tell them what it's like to work with these companies personally and what our experience has been with them. The one thing I can share with you is anytime we do those proposals and anytime we go over these quotes, these are companies that we've done 25, 30, 50 different deals with a year. So we have firsthand experience with what it's like to work with them and share that experience with your clients versus them having to call 3 to 5 different folks out to have 3 to 5 different meetings over 3 to 5 different days to get a whole different, huge story of different companies saying different things. Now, in the solar business, I will say there's a lot of confusion. There's 3 different ways that you can buy solar. First is owned systems, finance or cash, okay? Second is a lease of the solar system itself. Or lastly, has anybody in the room heard of power purchase agreements, PPAs, okay? As real estate agents, power purchase agreements are going to be the biggest thing that gums up your real estate transaction out there. But there's probably people in the room that aren't real big fans of solar. For that reason, it does gum up a real estate transaction. It's a problematic issue. And the biggest offender is power purchase agreements. So what a power purchase agreement is, have you seen on Facebook or Instagram or any of the social media, free solar program in California? You don't have to pay $1. That's really misleading advertising because effectively the system is free. In other words, a company like Sunrun. So when you walk into Home Depot or Costco, solar free home, folks, solar free home. Those are Sunrun folks that have a strategic relationship with Costco and Home Depot. Sunrun really, really likes to sell power purchase agreements. And their angle is, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, you don't have to get a loan. You don't have to come up with cash. We'll install the system for you, put it on the roof for you. Then we become your effective new PG&E in that process. Now, the problem with that, in one of my literature, so I've got some information that I'll be able to give to all of you. There's some back here in the back, but the good, the bad, and the ugly, owned solar versus leases versus power purchase agreements. I had done an analysis for a homeowner that was encouraged by one of these Costco, run into a guy, let's explore this for your home, etc. And he was paying about $200 a month in PG&E territory for his electricity. And the PPA was going to start him out at $174 a month. And so he was like, okay, I'm starting. It's lower, it's less expensive than PG&E. By the way, anybody know how much PG&E has gone up in the last couple of years? 20. So in 2022, 17%. So get this, 9% January 1st of last year, 8% March 1st of last year, 17% January 1st of this year. They're asking for another 22% next year. I think that this is just the beginning of double-digit rate growth in the future. I'm going to get back to the PPA, but let me finish this thought. Here's why I believe that. Newsom signed last year, no more gas combustible automobiles for sale in California after 2035. No more diesel trucks for sale after 2036. Getting rid of natural gas furnaces and hot water heaters by 2030. Getting rid of off-road small combustible engines and lawnmowers, weed eaters, and things like that by 2025. So California has some really, really aggressive green energy goals, right? Quick question. How much, as a percentage of the energy that we consume in California, how much energy do we import into the state? Anybody have any idea?
20%.
It's higher than that. Good guess, though. Take one more guess. 31%. We get in California energy from 2 states and 2 other countries. We get energy from Mexico, Canada, Arizona, and Nevada. 55% of what the Hoover Dam generates comes to California. Okay. So we can't handle our current needs. Now, here's another quick question for you before I finish the PPA discussion. Tesla, any Tesla owners in the room? Nobody.
I think they're scared to raise their hand at this point.
That's surprising to me. You guys drive everywhere, so no Tesla owners. So a Tesla, let's talk about a Tesla.
Cybertruck just rolled off the line.
Hey, yeah. Well, have you seen the semi? I'll talk about the semi in a second. So the average Tesla has an 85 to 100 kilowatt hour battery in it. Okay, so for those of you that don't know what that means, let me tell you this. The average home in California uses 11,600 kilowatt hours of energy a year. Divide that by 365, that's 31 kilowatt hours of energy a day. Okay, just keep that as an average. So the average Tesla has either an 85 to 100 kilowatt hour battery in it. So the average range, fully charged Tesla, depends on how fast you're going and whether you have AC on, but let's say it's 300 miles. So if somebody drives 100 miles in a Tesla, takes it back home, charges it up again, to charge it, they're going to use the same amount of energy that the average home does in a day, just to charge the car back up after driving 100 miles. Now, God forbid they drove 300 miles, got back to the garage with 0 battery left. Now they're going to take the equivalent of 3 homes of energy to charge that car back up again. Now, the Tesla Semi, sleek, cool. Anybody seen the Semi running around?
Yeah.
Delivering to Pepsi,
Pepsi.
Frito-Lay, that kind of thing. I live in Forest Hill, so it's always up there delivering to Wharton's Market up in Forest Hill. So I see that thing all the time. That thing has 1,000 kilowatt hour battery on it. Okay.
Wow.
So when they deplete that battery, it takes the same energy that 33 homes use to charge it back up again. So coming full circle, if we already import 31% of our energy into the state just to meet our needs now, notwithstanding all of what's coming, EV revolution, no more gas combustible automobiles by 2035, everything going to electric, how is the grid going to sustain what's coming? And my answer, it's not. I foresee a period in the future where you'll have much more frequent power shutoffs, especially in PG&E territory. I see a period in the future where you could actually see scheduled shutoffs, where in certain areas, because you're in that area on the second Tuesday of the month between 3 and 10, you're not going to have power, so that you can plan your life around that type of a situation, because we just don't have the infrastructure. So in addition to that, as I said before, double-digit rate growth moving forward. So back to the PPA example. This guy, $174 a month, he was all excited about it. I showed him a purchase contract financed at 195. He's like, I don't want it. 195 is more than 174. But I said, you're 174, these power purchase agreements with Sunrun, they go up every single year. What's your escalator? He's like, it was 3%. I said, well, within 5 years, you're going to be above what I'm showing you. And then guess what? After 25 years, it would have doubled. In fact, I have an example in this handout. I showed him what he was going to spend on that power purchase agreement over 25 years, and it culminated in $77,000 he was going to spend for something that was free. Okay. Now, here's the thing with PPAs. At the end of the contract, the end of the 25 years, guess what? You don't even own the system. You then have to buy the system. Guess who gets to pick the appraiser? Sunrun. It's all in the contract. All you gotta do is read it. Okay. So I showed him a finance contract. Now, when you own solar, cash or finance, do you get a, let me ask, how many solar knowledgeable folks in here? Raise your hand if you think you know your way around solar a little bit. Okay, I got a green group. So solar comes with the most significant tax benefit available. It's an income tax credit. As a former financial advisor of 22 years, a tax credit is far more valuable than something that gives you a tax deduction. If you put money into an IRA, 401k, you get to reduce your income by the amount of your contribution. If I put 10 grand in, maybe I save $3,500 of tax. Okay. A $10,000 tax credit is saving you $10,000 worth of tax. It's 2 to 3 times more valuable than something that gives you a tax deduction. Solar, owned solar, enjoys a 30% federal income tax credit based on the cost of the system. So only owners of the solar get to keep the tax credit. Going back to Sunrun, guess when they do a PPA, guess who owns the system?
Sunrun.
Sunrun, not the homeowner. Guess who gets to keep the tax credit at 30%? Sunrun. Guess who now has guaranteed, scheduled, contractual 25-year income on their books that's a saleable asset? Sunrun. Guess who gets the disadvantage? The homeowner. So when you own the system as a homeowner, financed or cash, you get to enjoy the 30% federal income tax credit on anything that goes into that installation process. Roof repairs, 30% of that. Potentially roof replacement. I'm not a tax attorney, I'm not a tax advisor, but I will tell you this, most of my clients will claim the roof replacement for the 30% as well. In addition to that, main panel upgrades, okay? Zensco, Sylvania, anybody run into those? Those of you that know, like that panel is a fire hazard. There's a reason why those companies don't exist any longer. What would you guess it would take for a electrician to come out to replace the main panel in a house? Take retail cost right now today.
15,000.
How much?
15,000.
That'd be high.
6,500.
Yeah, I would say for us, most of our experience from homeowners has been like around $5,000 through the solar process, $2,500 usually, plus the 30%, high teens, $1,700, $1,800 to replace the panel, right? So back to the example I was giving you. So
Would
the
that,
home,
would that also include wiring it for the Tesla? You get the 30%.
EV charge, yeah. So any EV chargers, wiring, batteries, storage is a big thing. So batteries right now, 30%. Plus you may be eligible for even more. For those, anybody work in Placer County, like sell homes in Placer County? So right now, rural Placer County, if your homeowner's in a high fire threat district area, HFTD, as defined by the CPUC, then they may be eligible for a free battery. I actually am doing a radio show on that this weekend. There's a program called the SGIP, Self-Generation Incentive Program. State of California will give $1,000 per kilowatt hour. Most batteries are 10 kilowatt hours, so 10 grand toward a battery as part of this program. If you're in a high fire threat district area, medical baseline, or illness that would potentially be life-threatening if you lose power, or electric well. Those two things, high fire threat district, and one of those other three things I just mentioned may qualify them for a battery, but yes, the tax credit does apply to that. So as a homeowner, I want to enjoy that 30% federal income tax credit to help mitigate the cost for the system. So in this example, guy had $200 a month, PPA 174. I showed him an own system at 195. The 195 a month was assuming that he kept the tax credits. Okay, he could keep that. He can use it. He can do whatever he wants to it. He could have applied it toward the loan, but I showed him an own system. His total cost was 47 grand. If he took the tax credit and applied it to the loan to prepay the balance, then it only cost him 40 grand. Remember, the PPA was 77. And then lastly, I showed him a cash quote. The cash quote for the solar, 28 grand. So the PPAs, the good, the bad, the ugly, here's my point to you. Stay away from leases, stay away from power purchase agreements. If your homeowner can afford to either pay cash, which is the best possible way to buy solar, or get a solar loan. I work with 6 different banks as well. So in that, as a broker, I can help them shop for financing, but if they can get a solar loan, that's better than the lease or the PPA because they don't forgo the tax credit, and it's actually going to cost them a lot more to lease or do a power purchase agreement. So I know I've thrown a lot at you. I want to open it up for a few questions before my time is done. So let me take some questions from anybody that's curious.
Where's the future of solar going as far as advancements that they know about?
I think what it's
Battery
going to be,
capacity. And
yeah.
I think the bigger question is, what the hell are we sorry, the heck are we gonna do with all of these and everything we have when these batteries depreciate? Because they charge and recharge, you know, we got this battery pack thing and it says it'll charge up 2,000 times and then you gotta just chuck it. So
yeah, the average life of a solar battery, warranted for 10, expected to live 20. Panels warranted for 25, expected to last 40. Because you got to remember, don't let anybody tell your homeowner that there's a lot of maintenance involved in solar. There's no moving parts. You know, imagine somebody trying to sell your homeowner a warranty for the wiring inside the walls. Oh, Mr. Homeowner, it's only going to be $200 a year, but we'll protect in case your wiring has any issues. Well, solar doesn't have any moving parts. It doesn't have an engine, doesn't have a transmission. But back to your question. Effectively, what I think is going to happen is the two things I'm really confident about is panel wattage is going to continue to increase. So right now, an average solar panel generates about 400 watts of energy. That's the maximum output. If placed ideally due south with complete sun exposure, no shade obstruction, that panel will generate about 600 kilowatt hours of energy a year. So I think you're going to see advancements in that. I think, so for example, I have a panel in my house that does really well in diffuse light situations. So for example, because I live in Forest Hill, I get a lot of smoke in the fall. And so that panel does well in those diffuse light situations. So you're going to see panel technology, absorbency continue to increase. Batteries, you're going to see them get smaller, and I think you're going to see them get less expensive. There was a big change in California recently relative to how homeowners get credit for the energy in PG&E territory. Did not affect Roosevelt Electric, did not affect Sacramento or SMUD. But in PG&E territory, if your system generates more energy than what you're using inside the home, the excess goes to PG&E. Well, you've got to send them 4 watts to get 1 watt of credit back from them. It's ridiculous. Whereas if you have your battery, you send your 4 watts to your battery, you can pull that 4 watts out later in the evening at 10 o'clock at night when you're watching TV or, deciding to have a late night snack or something along those lines. But good question. Other questions that come to mind? Go ahead.
Yeah, so you don't get the tax credit if you lease?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, the company that sponsors the lease, that leases you the system, they keep tax credit. Strong incentive, right, for them to continue to lease systems. And then, so you're obligated this 25-year contract. See, an owned system is so simple. You want to pay it off, you can pay it off, right? Have anybody heard solar does add value to a home? I think that's in the mind of the purchaser, right? If you're dealing with somebody that came from Oregon, coming here to California, buying a house in PG&E territory in Rockland, they're probably not going to assign as much value to having solar on that home as somebody that has been familiar with how much PG&E has gone up and goes, I want a house with solar, right? So ever since California changed the building code in 2019, mandating that all new construction has to have solar, what we're starting to see is the beginning of the solar being the standard. And I think that homes without it, especially in PG&E territory, are going to be at a disadvantage. I think homeowners are going to start to ask questions of you. Can you find me a house that's got solar? I want to make sure I don't have to have an $800 a month becoming $1,000, $1,200, $1,500. So here's what I think is going to happen. Honestly, in the next 5 to 7 years, I think anybody in PG&E territory is going to see their current outrageous bill double. And then I think you're going to see it double again. I can see this being one of the biggest jeopardies. In fact, I've done several shows on, because my background as a financial advisor, on the jeopardy of not accounting for energy costs in retirement. I think it's the ticking time bomb for a lot of older folks on fixed income because their income isn't going up 17, 16, 22% a year like PG&E electricity is. And solar is always less expensive. I can save somebody in PG&E territory probably half, even on a finance system, half of what they're paying to PG&E. If they pay cash, we're seeing a cost recovery 6 years, 7 years outside of a battery. So imagine being able to prepay your energy for 5, 6 years and then not having to worry about the same outrageous onerous bill for 25 years into the future, Question.
Is there any, if you were talking about the advantages of, things are continuing to get better.
Yeah.
Right? So if you do lease the solar system, you're going to be getting a better system at the lease is over, right? Is there any benefit to that at all?
No, because you're talking about something, the leases are structured for 20, 25 years. I mean, everything's going to be better at 25 years. I mean, what are phones going to look like 25 years from now, right? So they're probably going to be embedded in our heads, you're not even going to have something physical. But you get the point that this is technology, so computers are going to get faster, panels are going to get more wattage, inverters are going to get better. But I think the problem that exists and the message I'm trying to convey is that if you personally or your clients want a competent, knowledgeable resource within solar that has more than just one company as an option, I want you to know, in doing my radio show, I've had to do a lot of research. Every weekend is a different show. So how many times can I chop up solar? So I look at angles like that. Where's the technology going? What's happening in batteries? What's happening in the state? How's the grid? EVs? Where are we sourcing all of our power from? All of that stuff to try to, share information with the audience so people are aware, because I don't think most people, I heard a lot of you gasp at the fact 17, 16 or 18 last year, 17 this year, 22 next year. Your homeowners don't know that. It's probably valuable information. Question.
So NIM 3.0, can you briefly explain that? And a lot of my clients are saying, hey, I missed the April cutoff, so now there's not as big of a benefit to get solar. So
I think that's a fair statement, but that isn't, that doesn't mean that it's not valuable to continue to save, and solar still saves. So NEM 3, net energy metering 3.0, took effect in April of this year, April 14th. I was on the call December 15th of last year with the California Public Utilities Commission, listening to their logic and reason regarding this particular decision. And so what they were doing was changing what credit rates your homeowners get for the excess energy that is being sent to PG&E outside of what they're consuming. So on this call, 4-hour call, I probably had 200 homeowners that I heard come onto the call, probably took 2 restroom breaks in that process. I didn't hear one homeowner say vote yes on this, not one. All of them were pissed, upset that solar was changing. And at issue is that crediting rate, and I'll explain exactly what it meant. But here's the thing. I felt like, man, PG&E's got the CPUC in their pocket. You know, Newsom doesn't care because he wants to be president. You know, all this, when all this shakes out, it's going to be long past all of these people, right? So the way it used to work prior to this April deadline is, remember when I said on any given day, it's likely, especially summertime, on any given day, it's likely that the solar system will produce more energy than the homeowner is using inside the home. Well, prior to this change, that energy was sent to PG&E and there was no degradation. There was no reduction. You send 4 watts to PG&E and they're almost like a battery for you. Send the energy to them, you get a full 4 watts, no cost. Keep in mind, you generated, you paid for the system. The system generated the energy that you bought. You sent it to PG&E for them to store and you got it back full value. Now you send them 4 watts, you get 1 watt of credit. So this created a massive, funnel for us. I mean, I literally 3.5 months, 7 days a week I worked. I mean, I wrote a year's worth of business in 3 months because of this change. Having said that, the way to address that today, and amazingly, after this change, batteries dropped half in cost. So what's happening now is you have to add storage. In order for a NEM 3 system to look and act like it did before this change, you need to have your own battery. Why send the extra energy to PG&E where they're going to take, would you bank with a bank if you gave them $100, you only had 25 available?
Right.
The other 75, or would you put it in your own safe at the house or buried in the backyard or whatever, right? So solar, and again, this is specific to PG&E territory. This wouldn't be an issue for Roseville Electric clients. This is not an issue for SMUD. SMUD is community owned, not under the purview of the CPUC. So they don't make decisions for SMUD. SMUD makes its own decisions. In SMUD territory, you send 3 watts to SMUD, you get 2 watts back. So it's at least better, but it's not like it was.
What about Roseville?
Roseville Electric is about the same. Send them 3, get back 2. It's close to that. Other questions?
What's the battery cost?
2 different variations of batteries right now. So one battery would be cost optimized where it doesn't provide backup power to the home, but what it does do is store the energy, the excess energy that the system provides. And so that one, 10 grand. If you want to have full battery backup to the house, high teens, 16, 18, somewhere in that range, depending on the installer. A lot of people are surprised. Batteries are a lot more expensive. I mean, they're on the front lines of inflation. What happened to lithium in the last 2 years? What happened to metals in the last 2 years? So batteries went up last year, almost 5 grand across the board. Didn't matter which one you were looking at. So, and I'm not a big fan of Tesla. I have a Tesla, but in the energy. So here's Elon, Tesla Motors, Twitter, or maybe it's SpaceX, or maybe it's Neuralink, or the Boring Company, or where is his but it's not Tesla Energy way down here. If he's going to mine lithium, he's going to do it to sell more Tesla automobiles, not to sell more batteries. So the biggest complaint on Tesla power walls right now is difficult to get. Nobody can communicate. You got to go through an app to try to get service. If there's a problem, it's horrible. I mean, it's either somebody loves it or hates it. But about 2-star ratings on Tesla products for solar. So just keep that in mind. We do rep it. I've only got 2 installers that will do Tesla Energy right now, but we may have more. Sunrun, Home Depot, Costco, they don't do ground mount systems. For those of you that work in rural Placer County that have a homeowner that doesn't want the panels on the roof, or maybe the roof isn't ideal, I've got 5 different installers that do ground mounts. Anybody know somebody off grid, true off grid? They want to say the hell with PG&E and they have a property up in the hills. We can do off grid systems as well. I've got a couple of different installers that will do off grid systems as well. So I want to be respectful of my time. I just want to share. I'll stick around after the meeting for any questions. But here's a sheet. If you personally want to take advantage, like I said, anybody in this room, I've gotten permission from our installers. I got to give them a list though. If you want to meet with us, $2,500 off the system if you decided to move forward. So that's this big yes, that's for you. If you have any clients that you'd like to put in touch, I can extend the $2,500 off to your clients, but only if you get this back to me in 24 hours, because I got to report this to our installers. What they don't want is favoritism, and they don't want me just calling them, oh yeah, so-and-so was part of this promotion. Because again, I don't set the pricing. They're the ones that set the pricing on the systems. Any last questions before I go?
Sean, yes, I've got a question. Do you have a map grid on your website of PG&E territory? And what's your phone number?
My phone number should be in the chat.
It is.
916-872-5452. That's my cell phone. That's the best number to reach me at. And then I'm very versed in PG&E territory. I don't have a map, but I can get you one. That's not a problem.
Okay, thanks.
All right, quick question.
Hey, Sean, I had a quick question for you, if possible.
Okay.
Brandon.
Hey, I know in the beginning of the call, you said that you had the $1,000 referral option. What does that handoff look like? What should that look like from a realtor to you if we had a client that was interested?
So really what I see in that is obviously I'm going to be the best one to communicate the solar, the advantage, ask them questions about the property, because, you know, the biggest question that I get all the time is somebody will call me up even randomly. Hey, Sean, I got a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house. It's 1,700 square feet. How much is solar going to cost me? I said, you just gave me information that was completely useless, right? So energy usage is very personal. You know, it'd be better to know what somebody likes, the temperature in their house in the summertime or the temperature in their house in the wintertime and how old their house is, right? So the handoff is just an introduction. Usually what happens is it's a group text. You text me in addition to the homeowner. Mr. Homeowner, you know, I got this great solar broker, you know, his name's Sean. My nickname on the radio is Graybeard, so you can call me whatever. But effectively, you hand that off, group text, I'll introduce myself. And then really, I want to dig into the property. So we can look at satellite imagery. We can see if there's shading concerns. I can take the roof orientation. So for example, with solar, the ideal is 20 degrees slope due south. That's the perfect roof for solar. Well, let's now say the main ridge line of the house is north to south, and now you got, you know, either the east or the west side. The panels aren't going to get sun full day. So we do that analysis. We'll look at the property with them on the call. I do a solar discovery call, which is basically an introduction of me, our services, how we work, what we do, and then property level questions. And then most people don't have their easy accessible kilowatt hour history. So there's a solar dedicated number with PG&E that we call usually within 2 to 3 minutes with the homeowner on the line. I can get their prior 12 months of kilowatt hour usage. I can talk to them about, you know, whether they plan to buy an EV and how to calculate what that might add or, you know, plan for that, et cetera. But usually just a soft handout. And then my commitment on the $1,000 is obviously nothing's done until it's done. And so we don't get paid by the installers, our fee, until after the system has been actually installed. So effectively, you know, once the system's installed for that homeowner, the deal happened, you know, because, you know, in real estate, things happen. Sometimes somebody backs out for some reason or whatever. But once the deal's done, then I write you a check or give you cash, $1,000, no questions asked.
Got it. And then last question for you, in addition to that, do we, if we were referring person over to you, do we get status updates? Because oftentimes if we were to refer somebody to a partner, they're going to come right back to us and say, hey, I haven't heard anything. And so, you know, for us, we just want to make sure that we have the right ammo in terms of making sure that we support each other too.
Yeah, last thing in the world I want to do is create problems for you, but that's part of the reason that I'm a broker, is that there's a lot of no communication in solar. I mean, I coming out of financial services, I literally had to ask permission to use the restroom, like when I was in financial services. I mean, obviously not literally, but you get my point. It was very regulated, dot the I's, cross the T's, a very, you know, tightly held industry. I go into construction, go into solar, and I'm like, this is like the old West. I cannot believe companies do business like this. So yeah, we're on them, we're following up with them. And let me make one point. If your homeowner is left to the wolves, let's say that they go with someone else. They're one homeowner with one solar installer, with one salesperson in that process, right? So how much autonomy does that salesperson have to argue for the benefit of the homeowner when the company that they work for is the one that writes their check? Conversely, I, as a broker, I might have sent 30, 40, 50 deals to that company over the last year. If my homeowner has an issue, I'm on the side of the fence of the homeowner. They're my client, not the installer. And I call them up with the weight of 30, 40, 50 deals behind me. I can promise you they're going to receive my call and get at the issue, whatever the issue is.
That's really
got it. From one gray beard to another. Thank you, brother.
You're welcome. And what was your name?
Brandon.
Okay, nice to meet you, Brandon. Any other questions before I finish up?
last question I had is just real quick. Can you explain, like, how would you explain to a buyer and how would you explain to the homeowner, like the value that solar has on a property?
So on the property itself, you know, like what does solar add in terms of value
Yeah,
to
like
the property, or
it-
why would somebody want to consider solar
Mhm.
personally?
Yeah, so basically, how much value does it add? Does it add 10 grand, 5 grand? Like when they're
Yeah.
trying to figure out what to
So
offer?
there've been a couple studies. Some of you probably, if you've investigated this yourself, you probably have seen Zillow had a study, 4.1%. You know, that's what they estimate solar adds to the property. I hate that. I don't like that. I think that's the wrong way to approach it. While it may be statistical good information, I think it's misleading to a homeowner, because I've been in houses that are $2 million houses in SAC that have a $200 a month utility bill. Adding solar to that home isn't going to create $80,000+ worth of value, because they're only mitigating a $200 utility bill. And then I've been in small houses, you know, 1,000 square foot house, you know, double wide trailer up in rural Placer County that spends $700 a month on energy. Adding solar to that property is going to add more value to that property than 4.1%. I'll tell you that much. So the best study that I've seen come out of this is the Department of Energy commissioned a study. I think it was something like 10,000 homeowner transactions, interviewed homeowners, etc. The net of it, and I've got it, I can send it to you, but the net of it is that for every dollar that you can mitigate, because right now your homeowners are renting their power.
Mhm.
Why does somebody want to buy a house? Fixed cost, equity appreciation, tax benefits, makes financial sense.
Yeah.
Right? But everyone's renting their power. We have to rent our cable, Netflix, Hulu, water, sewer.
Yeah, but there's another whole one in there.
Yeah, exactly. So the whole point is,
No, it's not.
is he talking to me or no?
I don't know who he's talking to.
Okay. So the whole point is solar is the one thing, a major expense of home ownership that you can own. You can own it. You don't have to rent it any longer, right? I was going somewhere with this. You guys
Did you
follow.
ever finish your sentence? You said $1 equals.
Yeah, I just reminded myself. I'm like, I gotta come back to it. So here's the study. So the study came back with every dollar that you can mitigate. Okay, it creates in the mind of a purchaser about $20 in value to the house. And so the example would be like right now, if there's anybody in the room that hates your PG&E bill, if you're in PG&E territory, okay, imagine if you get solar and it goes away. You're gonna go, oh man, I love solar. This is awesome. And now any future purchase you're going to have, you're going to go, if that house, if I had a preference, I'm going to want it. So what I said is it's relative, but what they came back is, so in that example, $1 creates $20 in value. So if I'm spending, let's do an easy example. If I'm spending $200 a month on energy and I can make that bill go away with solar, that'd be $2,400 a year. That creates $48,000 in value. Then I tell a homeowner, cut that in half. Let's just cut it in half. Do you agree it adds value?
Yes.
To some degree.
Yeah.
We just don't know what it's going to be. And that's where I came back very early on in this presentation and I think the value add is really going to be contextually based on whoever the purchaser is and their experience in terms of understanding solar and wanting to mitigate some of the cost. If you've got an older retired person on a fixed income buying a house, I think they're going to assign more value to solar as being part of that transaction than somebody that has never, first-time home buyer that has never paid for PG&E electricity again. So there's not going to be an automatic guaranteed answer, but when I walk through that with the client, everyone agrees it adds value. We just don't know exactly how much value it's going to add.
Mhm.
But I think we're quickly approaching a standard in California where homes with solar are going to be the more sought after desired homes versus the homes without.
We have been able to pass on the solar, the houses that have solar. I run a management company.
Okay.
And we've been able to pass that on to the tenant and say, hey, you don't have power, but
Yes.
we're gonna charge you $150 because you have solar.
So
And they-
when I sold my financial services practice, I flipped 12 high-end homes in Sacramento. My wife and I did. We thought we were the Chip and Joanna Gaines of California. Had some good experiences, had some bad experiences. Land Park, Arden Park. I'd add 1,000, 1,500 square foot to these houses and then insulate my profitability as a result of that. So I started to add solar to those, but as an investor, I own a commercial property in Newcastle, and Placer County took forever. Finally got my permits. My solar on my 2 structures yesterday and today. I got a crew there right now adding more panels to my system right now as an investor. But I think yeah, why not get the arbitrage? Why not add solar to the property, mitigate the expense of it, and then as an investor, get the override, tell the tenant you got utilities included up to a certain amount, because you can see if they go over that, whatever they go over the production, then that's their responsibility. But yes, investors, I do think that solar does make sense. So I do commercial properties, we do residential, we can do multifamily, so good questions. Any last questions before we finish up? So again, these handouts are here. I got some other resources that you can take along with you on the back counter here. And I just want to say thank you to Johnny for allowing me the chance to come in and speak to you all. I appreciate you giving me an audience and giving me a chance to explain what I do. And I'll stick around for any questions that any of you have personally, if you want to ask me some questions after the meeting. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you so much, John. All right, everybody, we have Brent on the line as well. Brent, anything you want to add?
Man, super impressive speaker there. That boy knows his stuff. I thought that was a world-class presentation. Super impressed with you, my man. And I think we all learned a lot. I learned a lot. It was excellent. If you made me interested and excited, you did good, because I have been the anti-solar guy. So anyway, so good job. And then
you and I used to be on the radio together with Michelle. She was
yeah,
way back when, Michelle Alfano. So I was Uncommon Investments and Resources.
Did you have a beard back then?
No, I
See,
didn't.
that's what it is. You're throwing me off with the
we met
beard.
a
You
few
got a
times way
disguise
back
on.
when, so.
I don't even recognize my kids sometimes. Trust me. So good to see you. Hey, real quick, it is Kathy's birthday Saturday. Everyone say happy birthday, Kathy. So we're gonna go golfing tomorrow. Big shocker. Hey, real quick, next Thursday, I'm sure you promoted Ricky Caruth, Placer County Board of Realtors. I believe it starts at 11, not 10, and goes till 1. Is that right, Johnny?
You got it.
Good, man. Show up, bring guests. Show up, bring guests. He's flying from the East Coast, from like Georgia, Alabama, somewhere, all the way here. He will bring fire. He's a caveman. He will make fire at this event. I promise you, he's a world-class speaker, rock star. Don't miss it. Don't do something stupid like show property or go on a listing presentation. So that's the guy, Ricky Caruth. He's a powerful world-class communicator. Again, 11 to noon at PCAR. We're spending thousands. We charge you nothing. Come, show up with 10 or 15 friends. Hit some phones this week and say, come to this guy. He's going to change your life. He will. And so we're flying him across country, so you don't have to. Don't miss this. Big deal. And so there's no team meeting, obviously, next Thursday. Is there, Johnny? Because we're focused on this. Is that right? Or
correct? Yeah, we're all going to PCAR.
See you guys at PCAR. Love you guys. Have a great day. Good
All
job.
right, thanks everybody for coming. Have a great day.
Thank you, guys.